Got to get into my interview for today, and I want to introduce you to Sarah Koopman. But before that, South Africa is losing over 20,000 teachers annually, with nearly half of them under 35 years old, according to recent news. However, new data from the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship offers a hopeful shift in the narrative. The head of partnerships and advocacy at Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, Sarah Koopman, is with us on the line to help us unpack this topic. So without further ado, let me just welcome Sarah. Sarah, welcome to LTC.
Thank you so much, Marco. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to all of your listeners as well.
It's good to have you with this very important topic as well. And let's get straight into that, Sarah. So, what is believed to be driving teachers out of South Africa, and why are young teachers particularly vulnerable?
Absolutely, Marco. I think less so than them being driven out of South Africa, they're just being driven out of the classroom. So a lot of newly qualified teachers within the first 3 to 5 years of their teaching careers choose to leave the profession for a host of reasons. And the most important of them is that about 32% of them, according to data that was released by Reset at Stellenbosch University, say they leave because their mental health has been negatively affected.
Sure.
And that includes overcrowded classrooms, learners with deep learning backlogs, limited infrastructure, and often very little support for that big adjustment from being a teacher in training as a student to actually being in front of a classroom. And these pressures we've seen really have contributed to teachers leaving so early in their careers.
Coincidentally, that includes the listeners, of course. Last week we spoke about teacher burnout, and we're very, very interested in our teachers because I know they are so foundational in our society, and we need to look after them. So, what kind of challenges are new teachers facing, especially in under-resourced schools? And you got to get into that because sometimes we think school is equal. Let's talk about this phenomenon then.
Absolutely. There is such a big disparity for a lot of South African learners of the type of school they have access to, be it based on the community they come from or what their parents or guardians are able to afford. And it's often teachers in under-resourced schools, which we also refer to as low-fee or no-fee schools, that are under those big pressures. And I think particularly in those schools, teachers are often facing very big class sizes. So the learner-to-teacher ratio is quite drastic. There is a lot for them to manage from an admin perspective. And what we mustn't forget, and as you so rightly said, teachers are so foundational in being able to guide people towards anything they choose to do with their lives beyond that. And often, a learner is not just coming to school with the passion to learn, they also bring all of the issues that face them at home and in their communities. So the pressure is often on teachers to be more than just teachers who are delivering the curriculum. They are also counselors, parents to some extent, nurses where they need to be, and fill many gaps for their learners. But all of that adds to the load and the pressure that new teachers face. And all of this, as you rightly mentioned, contributes towards that feeling of burnout and of overwhelm and a compromise to their mental health.
I'm so glad you could give a little bit of insight into that as well. But we may be starting off a little bit negatively, but there's always good news as well.
And always hope.
Yeah, I want to concentrate on that. So the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, of course, your recent data shows 80% of supported new teachers are ever staying in the profession. So now I want to hear from you what exactly is behind the success.
Thank you. I think if I could just provide some context about the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship itself, we are an NPO that works with newly qualified teachers. So those are teachers who have graduated from their PGCE or their BEd qualification and are in the first 2 to 3 years of their career as a teacher in the classroom. And what we have seen from surveys and research within our own cohort of teachers is that when we are able to structure a good support system, which is really underpinned by coaching, we are able to benefit those new teachers, bridging the gap between initial teacher education and what they eventually face in the classroom when they're there full time. And this coaching approach has enabled, as you rightly said, 80% of our teachers say they can now see a long-term career in teaching, which is a really encouraging change from what we were previously speaking about with regards to teachers who leave within the first 3 to 5 years.
So we got to undergird that answer you just gave me in terms of teacher support, right? So what does the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship classify as teacher support?
As I mentioned, coaching is the cornerstone of what we offer in terms of that support. And we have found that this wraparound support program, where every teacher that is on our program is paired with a veteran educator with many, many years of experience. And over the course of 2 years, they are able to develop self-reflective and self-improving processes and skills that support their actual theoretical competencies as a teacher. And what happens is through this coaching relationship, which includes in-person classroom visits, reflective tasks, and one-on-one engagements with their coach, the newly qualified teacher learns to contextualize their experiences and build up a toolkit and then apply those tools in whichever context they may find themselves in. And what this really affords them is an opportunity to learn and to apply tools across schools or phases. And it really is about building resilience in the teacher themselves as part of a long-term investment into their career and keeping them in the classroom.
Yeah, I like that, and I've got a bit of personal insight into something like that, where I see the more experienced teacher coaching and mentoring the ones that just come into the system, because there's a lot to take in. Maybe a lot of us don't realize everything that goes with, especially the newer teachers and all of the admin and all of the historical things that the older teachers know, of course. So I'm going to go a little bit more negative with you in regards to that 20,000 teachers that leave South Africa annually. So that is not even a once-off, it's annually. So why is it important to retain our trained teachers, and what practical steps should policy makers and school leaders take starting today?
Well, I think, we touched on it earlier in terms of you can't have any functioning society without good quality teachers, because anything that requires you to read, write, or count was taught to you, and those skills were given to you by a teacher in the course of your schooling career. And that is foundational. So for us, supporting teachers early in their career, because there is also data that supports teachers who choose to stay at least 5 years are more likely to spend many more years, 15 to 20 years, in the profession as a teacher in the classroom. So supported teachers at an early stage of their careers really is a long-term investment into the health of the entire education system over time. And teachers who show up as their best selves in the classroom then benefit their learners immediately and are able to impart those skills onto their learners as well, about building resilience and building their individual capacity to cope with whatever challenges they may face. And then just to speak about sort of the policy side of things, it really needs to go back to the initial teacher training, which happens at university or college, and including different avenues of learning for them about managing large classroom sizes, a better interface to what it actually means to be in those classrooms, teaching them behavioral management and trauma-sensitive practices. And, from a policy perspective, we are privileged in this country to have incredibly strong policy that is supportive, that is representative of teacher well-being and teacher professional development. Where we sometimes fall short is implementation. So that is something that we as Jakes Gerwel Fellowship and other organizations like us are working towards, is to bring those two together to provide that support for our new teachers to keep them in the classroom long term, because ultimately the quality or health of an education system cannot exceed the quality, and in this case, the mental health of our teachers.
I think something that needs to be addressed even more, and I think you're touching on that now. I think that, yes, there are teacher unions. I feel that the teachers need to have a bigger say or bigger voice in terms of their frustrations. And I want to touch on something we're talking about, the new and younger teachers staying in the profession for at least 5 years, and that's in itself is a success. I want to get to maybe on the other side of that in terms of the importance of those who's been in the system for a longer while, because when we lose that intellectual capacity and experience as well, it has an effect on our society, because the quality is not the same in terms of what we're teaching our children. The reason why I'm bringing it up is it's great to have the newer teachers, because we want that shows growth, but we also need to make sure that we retain those with the skills that they've picked up over the over decades even.
Absolutely. And I think this for us is where coaching and mentorship creates a wonderful ecosystem for that transfer of knowledge. So whether it is someone within your school, an older teacher, a more experienced teacher within your school, or someone within your district or metro that you connect with, who is able to impart that experience. Like you said before, there is a lot that we cannot prepare for until the situation arises in the classroom.
Yes.
And that wealth of experience that comes from years of interacting with learners and teaching them is something that we can't afford to lose. And for us, which is why our teacher coaches who work directly with our program participants are all veteran educators who've spent many, many years in the classroom and are now imparting their knowledge and their experience with our newly qualified teachers. And I think my encouragement for newly qualified teachers is to go and seek that mentorship and seek that guidance. If it isn't readily available to you in your school, join professional learning communities and seek out mentorship support from a more experienced educator. There are very many and very passionate, experienced educators out there who are very, very willing to share that knowledge and share their experience and keep that sort of institutional knowledge alive.
I like that a lot, and we have so many things we can talk about, Sarah. And I don't know if I've missed out on anything, if there's anything you still want to mention. And then I want to get to how those who are listening that's interested, how can they get more information on the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, and how can they tie it into, if they are a teacher, into their profession as well?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. We are, as I mentioned, a nonprofit organization that does early career professional development. Our induction program, or our wraparound support program, which is largely coaching based, is a 2-year program that runs over, as we like to refer to it, 8 quarters rather than strictly 8 school terms. So it doesn't necessarily run according to the school year, but we are able to take in different groups of teachers throughout the year. And we are able to, over that time, provide the coaching and the support and the one-on-one interface and interaction. We are at Jakes Gerwel Fellowship on social media, and also www.jgfellowship.org. That's our website, where you can find more information and make contact with us. I think in terms of new teachers, reaching out to your school management teams, your provincial or district, education bodies and departments, and make a call for this kind of support, I think would be a really good way to ensure that those policies, as I said, we've got brilliant policy that's been written, but that it is implemented where it is needed.
Sure. Sarah, thank you so much for today, and I hope that we have more conversations in regards to teacher development and supporting them as well. So thank you for all that you do at the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, and I bid you a better and great day further.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marco.
Awesome.
Goodbye.
Till next time. Bye-bye. So that was Sarah Koopman, and she's the head of partnerships and advocacy at Jakes Gerwel Fellowship. And you can check them out on the socials or on the World Wide Web, JC Gerwel or JG Fellowship.org.